What's up, guys? Welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host, Caleb. If you want to support me, you can now follow me on Patreon. Not only is it the best way to help out the channel, additionally, you'll get more say in what decks I cover. Special shout out to all of my high contributing patrons. Newsome, you rock. Additionally, you can always use that TCGplayer link in the description down below if you want to help me out. Now, let's get into today's commentary, I guess you could call it. I did in the past my top most favorite decks, and now I'm going to do my top most powerful decks. These decks are a little bit above the rest of them, right? Let's say if a casual deck wants to look to win around turn 7, I mean gold fishing, of course, no interaction, these decks will probably win more consistently turn 6 and have a little more resilience to them. I am disqualifying a couple of them right out of the gate. First of all, I have done a couple of CEDH decks. We're going to disqualify them. We are strictly talking about casual here. Additionally, I am disqualifying my Korvold list because that one's borderline CEDH. You could probably call it a 10, not CEDH, but the very top of casual. It looks to win around turn 4, and sometimes it can eke out a turn 3. Definitely not yeah, not going to include it on this list because it's a notch above the other ones even, so you can't compare, right? So let's get into the list without further ado. The first one is Yids Wheels. This has been a favorite deck of mine forever, and I can't decide if it's most powerful just because wheels are broken, which is probably like what it is, or it's because it's my most consistent deck because I've been playing it forever. I know the ins and outs of this deck, so it's very consistent. The idea is basically to get a Liliana's Caress on the battlefield, and then wheel your opponents to oblivion, dealing a ton of damage to them. We do run some very mean cards in the deck, like, again, Liliana's Caress. Passionate Archaeologist is a way to deal a ton of damage in a turn. This card's super underrated and gets out of control really fast, especially when you're casting a ton of spells from exile. Inevitable Betrayal. There's a lot of ways to abuse those suspend cards because if you cascade into a suspend card, its CMC is 0, so you get to cast it for free. So Yidris gets to abuse that stuff. He's an incredible value engine. Think of Cascade as, I don't know, if a commander said draw a card and then cast it for free, that's kind of what it is, and that's kind of why this card gets out of control. I do run a lot of top deck manipulation in the form of tutors, which is another reason that it's so powerful. You can tutor exactly what you want to cascade into the top of your library, and then cast a spell of more CMC, and then you get to cast that spell for free. So it adds a consistency to the deck that normally wouldn't be there if there weren't those top deck tutors. Additionally, there's just some mean cards in the deck like Shieldred, and we are even running Turgid. Turgid especially mean here because we get one wheel effect off while she's on the battlefield, and you're basically going to win the game from there. Additionally, we do have the infinite combos, such as your Sensei's Divining Top with your Bolas's Citadel paired with your Aetherflux Reservoir, and then you can kind of just keep casting the top from the top, cast it an infinite amount of times, and then dome everybody in the face. That's one of the more consistent ways it wins if you don't end up wheeling everybody to death. Another thing people don't like, but I love, is Ugin. He's in the deck. People don't love mass exile effects. This guy's a mass exile effect, but he's also like one of the first cards I ever purchased that was above $20, so he's near and dear to my heart, and like I said, this is one of my favorite decks, so he's definitely going to see an include in it. Moving on from the Yidris Wheels deck, we have Anikthea. This girl has surprised me. She's very resilient, killer, recaster, you get to reanimate something, and very explosive. All you have to do is pair it with a bunch of broken enchantments that also proliferate, right? We can shove stuff like Anointed Processions, Parallel Lives, and then we can even start throwing Growing Ranks in there to double up on those Parallel Lives and Anointed Processions that are also creatures. So now, instead of doing the Calyx thing where you just create a lot of Anointed Processions and Parallel Lives, we're creating Anointed Processions and Parallel Lives that can swing in for damage. So that's the difference here. We can actually kill people with Anointed Processions and Parallel Lives, which is actually super busted. Not to mention we can include stuff like Song of Creation. It's kind of like Scute Swarm if Scute Swarm was on Spellcast instead of whenever it landed into the battlefield. So yeah, again, that's not okay and super busted, especially when you can turn Song of Creations into a creature, right? Now you're creating a bunch of creatures and it's easy to swing out for the win. Now, this deck is kind of reliant on mill effects. You need to fill your graveyard and you need to get those key pieces in the graveyard. I kind of even want to do a rebuild of her where I really focus in on just the mill aspect, because I even think she could do more. But like I said, this girl's just extremely powerful. There's a ton of ways that this deck just gets out of hand, and enchantments are just overall hard to interact with. It's mass wipe or bust. So even if you kill our commander over and over again, the enchantments just stick on the battlefield and they're really hard to deal with. Not to mention, enchantments just have incredible card draw engines. So even if you do get rid of our commander, we're just able to draw a ton of cards and get back into the game very easily. So that's why Anikthea is going to be another one of the most powerful decks I have built this year. Moving on, we're going to talk about Tivit. And guys, I did not include Time Sieve in this deck because I thought that was like way too busted for casual, but it turns out Tivit's just busted in general. This is a Tivit Blink deck, which is probably one of the more powerful ways you could build a Tivit deck for casual. You just start blinking him, creating a ton of tokens. The win cons, consist of a Cyberdrive Awakener, bringing all those tokens to life. It's basically like a Craterhoof in this deck. If you draw it, you're going to win the game. Then we do have some busted stuff like Mondrak, just doubling up on all of those tokens. Anointed Processions is also here because, again, if you're building a high-powered deck, you might as well go all the way high-powered. You don't want to end up with a deck that's somewhere in between, where you can't compete with high-powered casual decks, but it's not really casual. You don't want to be pub stomping, but you don't want to be able to compete. So this is kind of where these decks lie. The topper end of casual that really just is trying to win, but in a fair way, right? Not CEDH, but, not exactly casual. So that's where these decks are. Darksteel Splicer, I just wanted to get fun with it. Blinking Darksteel Splicer over and over again is incredibly impactful, especially when you're just creating an indestructible board state. Kind of fun. Marnia's Calgar has a really cool interaction with clues. Clues have to be a single trigger, right? So if people go ahead and give you all the clues, now Marnia's Calgar is going to draw you a card for each time you investigate. So they're kind of incentivized to give you treasure, which you're fine with, but if they give you clues, you're going to get to draw cards on top of getting the clue drawer. So it's kind of just insane. Marnia's Calgar, just insane in general, right? He's like an Esper Korvold. That's what I say anyway. Moving on, we do have Urza. So now we can tap all of those artifacts for mana. Preston to abuse the blink portion of the deck. Yorion to blink our entire deck. Displacer Kitten, Thassa. Like I said, it is a blink focused deck, and that is why it is just kind of very powerful in my opinion. Moving on, if I could turn this page real quick. All right, we got there. Etali Primal Conqueror. This card's just not fair. It doesn't whiff, and it's got green in it. So you take the original Etali, and you say, hey, what if it couldn't whiff, and what if we, put green in there? And another idea, what if it was on ETB instead of attack? No, these are all terrible ideas, and it makes a busted commander. This guy's just not fair, and you're probably not surprised he's on this list. I really went with a hard ramp route. Oracle Modiah, Azusa's, Nature's Lore, Farseek. I want as much lands as possible, as fast as possible. That way we can get to 7 mana and cast Etali. We are even running exploration effects. Literally, I just want 7 mana as fast as possible. And then we went with a hard blink or token, or creating multiple copies route. I say blink, and every time people are they're like Gruul and blink. There's no Gruul. There's some blink spells in Gruul. But basically, we want Blade of Selves, Conjurer's Closet, Sword of Hearth and Home. We're just trying to blink this guy to oblivion. And then we are running Passionate Archaeologist. That's going to do a ton of damage in this deck. My man Alf over here, not even going to try to pronounce this guy. So I just call him Alf. Kind of looks like Alf. And this guy generates a ton of value in the deck as well. Angry Omnath, Green Sleeves. We even run Marag for extra combat steps. We want to utilize or get extra value off of all those lands we're shoving into play. So if they kill Etali to oblivion or the Etali plan doesn't work, we can just go hard landfall and outvalue our opponents this way. Again, this deck, super powerful, has a lot to do with the commander and the strategy behind it. This guy's just not fair. If you have ever played against an Etali, it's just... You can't kill it. You kill it, it just comes back. It's so hard to deal with. And then another deck I didn't think would make this list, but it really does, is Rocco Ragadraga Secret Commander. Now, the idea behind this deck was innocent at first and then quickly just turned into a combo deck. I want my secret commanders to provide something that the original commander doesn't, right? Ragadraga, it's really easy to include a lot of mana dorks, but sometimes you just don't have that 7-drop. So I was like, what if we include the 7-drop in the command zone, and then we have a way to bounce it back to our hand and constantly get that 7-drop, making sure that we can always untap our mana dorks. Turns out that just goes infinite and very easy. And again, a tutor in the command zone, I should have known. It's just stupid busted. So all you do with this deck is get a ton of mana dorks on the battlefield. As soon as you get to 4 mana, you're going to grab your Wirewood, cast your Rocco, return your Rocco, cast your Rocco again, you're going to get Ragadraga, and then by that point, you're having a ton of mana dorks that tap judging on their power, such as Savala, Kami of Whispered Hope, and Viridian Joiner make this list. Then we're just going to keep buffing them up with Ragadraga, returning our commander to our hand, and we just keep tutoring up all of our bombs with our Rocco. So now we're dropping stuff like Avacyn, Nyxbloom Ancient, Clouth onto the battlefield, bouncing back Rocco to our hand with our Cloudstone Curial or our Temur Sabertooth. And then again, that just goes infinite, super easy, and our commander can tutor for all the pieces. So I do think it is still casual just because the goal of the deck is to not go infinite as soon as possible, and there are a lot of ways to interact with the deck and to stop it from going infinite, right? You can kill Ragadraga, you can go ahead and counter Rocco. There's a lot of ways to interact with this deck, but it's still just super powerful because of the nature of the deck, right? We have a tutor in the command zone. It's super fun to play, but like I said, I definitely do reserve it for when we are trying to play some more high-powered Magic and trying to get to the win faster than normal. So, yeah, that's going to do it for my top 5 powerful decks. I hope you guys enjoyed. I've really been enjoying these videos. I know I'm kind of everywhere in them. I'm trying not to be. I'll get better at it as the more I do them, I promise. But I'm curious to know how you guys are liking them. I kind of like just sitting in front of the camera and talking about the decks I build. I really enjoy playing the decks I build, and like I have been getting a lot of questions like, hey, do you even play these decks? I do play the decks. If you want to play the decks with me, I'm usually on the Discord. That's where I find all my games. So if you guys ever want to play with me, just hop on the Discord. You can usually catch me through the weekends, and I do test out all my builds. So you can either die by them first or destroy me, whichever. Like I said, thank you for all the support. The channel has blown up. It's insane. I really appreciate all the support. And yeah, like I said, leave comment down below. Let me know if you like these videos. I really enjoy doing them. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. I hope, I'll thank my Patreons. You guys are amazing, especially my high contributing ones, Newsome and Chicken Salad 90. You guys really awesome. I really appreciate the support. I really, kind of jumping into this channel, trying to make it work. So yeah, I really appreciate the support. I appreciate all the patrons. It's really awesome. You guys get some perks there. You do get to vote on a deck tech I do every week. So if you want to become a patron, help out the channel, that'd be awesome. As always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I will see you guys in the next one.